Good morning, all you watching by Facebook and YouTube. We're on our mobile app. We're East Coast Church here in Midwood, New Jersey. We meet at Pine Lakes Fire Department at 10 o'clock every Sunday morning. If you're near, we'd love to see you. Today, the title of my message is Lead to Serve. Lead to serve. In other words, serve those that you lead. Let's look at some questions about serving. Think about this a minute. Who are you serving today? Who are you serving?
Lord.
Who are you leading? Who are you leading? Are you leading anybody? I heard this years ago that if you think you're leading somebody, you turn around, there's no one behind you. It means you're just on a walk. Think about that. Who are you talking to? Who are you spending time with? These will give you some glimpses to who you may be serving or who you may be leading. Today we're looking at what do successful leaders have in common, as well as what do unsuccessful leaders have in common. Both sides of that coin. What do successful servants have in common? And how do unsuccessful servants, what do they have in common? So we know what not to do. So let's look at a couple of definitions here today from Webster's Dictionary. The word serve means to be a servant, to be of use, to be favorable, opportune, or convenient, to be worthy or reliant of trust, to hold an office, to prove adequate, to help people with food, to wait on customers, to comply with commands and demands. So it means to serve. You know, every time you go into a restaurant that's not necessarily a fast food restaurant, even there, you have people that are serving you food, whether it's over the counter or a place where you're sitting down at a table and bring food to you and take your order. We went to a new restaurant that's opened up in Wanacue last night, and it didn't have any reservations. We've been watching this place. It used to be open, shut down for some other reasons. It's sort of reopened up under new management and a whole new restaurant. And we just walked in and said, "We don't have reservations. Can you take this?" They said, "Sure." And it's interesting because you could see a couple of these waiters, almost everybody came in knew them. They were family and friends, and they must have told everybody we're opening a new restaurant. So we asked them, "When did you open?" They said, "I think it was Tuesday, wasn't it? 4 days ago." And this was their first weekend to be open. So of course they told all their family and friends, and they all came. And we came. And it was really, really good. But you know, when our waiter came, you know, they already had the water. Here, say somebody else brought the bread, somebody else asked about drinks, and they finally came up to what we wanted to eat. We had an appetizer and entree, later a little dessert we shared. And they just waited on us. And being a new restaurant, you know, you always have tincture working out. And, you know, because you're serving people and you're not sure how things go. And Kim found a kink for him. It was pretty funny. Where we were sitting almost right by where the front door was, because that's all they had at that time. And she would look over my shoulder in the waiting area. There's glass there in front of the store. And she could literally see the reflection through the glass, the men's bathroom door.
Oh, gee.
And it didn't always close. It stuck open. Now, good news is she couldn't see anything else in there. She could see people in there, but when I went in there later, there was no urinals in the places. It had 2 toilets, but those were out of place where she couldn't see them, thank God. And so I told her, I said, "I bet this place doesn't know this. And I think you should probably share with him what you're seeing."
Yeah.
And when the guy finally came later, she told him, "She may not know this, and told him about what she was seeing."
Right.
He went, "Oh yeah, we got to do something about that." And he looked what she was looking at, said, "Yeah, the door was open, you can see it, through the reflection of the thing." There was someone who was observant, saw something that even the leaders didn't see, or the servants didn't see, because they weren't in position to see it. She just had to be at the right place, the right angle to see that, right? Aren't you glad that God sees everything? And so, you know, that was interesting to hear. They were serving us, but she was able to give them some information that was going to serve them better later on. And sometimes God puts us in a position like that where we're going to serve others, even though unintentionally, with things that we didn't know because of what we observed. The definition of the word lead means to guide in a way, especially by going ahead, to direct on a course or in a direction. The word guide means to serve as a channel for. Isn't that interesting? To serve as a channel for, to go through, to direct the operations, activity, or performance, to have charge of, to go at the head of, to be first in, to guide someone or something along the way. To guide something or something along the way. So it's interesting we see here that serving means you're going to carry out someone else's orders, somebody else's desires, or somebody else's commands. When you're in a restaurant like we were last night, you're usually a manager. But the manager could be a general manager and then eventually an owner. Mm-hmm. The owner's going to tell the GM what to do. The GM would tell the manager what to do. The manager would tell what? All the servers, all the cooks, what they're going to do. And so they're going to give orders. The desires are going to be talked about, and the commands will be as well. It was funny last night at this new restaurant. We had this young boy, teenage boy, who was serving, really doing the water, I guess. I think he brought the bread too. The first time he brought the water, he didn't take Pastor Kim's glass from her and took it over. He was at the side to pour it. He poured it over the table, right in the middle of the table, which a server should do. He didn't know. He's just young. And he spilled water over the middle of the table. Okay? And so he had to go get a couple towels and put towels over it and then put a glass on top of that. He came back the next couple times, give us water. He did just the opposite. He filled it off the table. And he didn't spill anything.
Right.
And so when you do things the right way, good things happen. You do things not quite the right way, you can have some things that happen you don't want to happen. And as he poured the first time and made the mess, I asked him, I said, before he made the mess, I said, how are you doing? He said, I've done better. In other words, yeah, I don't think he really wanted to be there doing what he was doing, to be quite honest with you. And then later we saw him had a little bit more of a smile on his face and seemed to kind of loosen up a little bit from that as a server. But here he was, he's carrying out someone else's orders, somebody else's desires, and somebody else's commands. That's what he was doing. Leading means you're guiding, you're directing, you're serving, or are in charge of something. Everybody say in charge of.
Yeah.
So leaders are in charge of things. Leaders guide people. Leaders direct people. Leaders serve people. Okay? And they are in charge of something. I can remember when I first was in a position to help churches and pastors and travel all the world doing that. They picked me up in the airport or someone would, the first time I was with the pastor on any trip, the first thing I'd ask him was, how can I serve you? What do you need? How can I help you? And those were always my first three questions to him. And there wasn't a lot of preliminary stuff. I want to know, I'm here to help you. How can I help you? You think about it, there's some things pastors can't talk to their spouses about, their congregation about, their staff, or even the board. And so I used to fill that gap for them. And it was amazing the things that we dealt with over the years with pastors, because just one person who said, how can I help you? How can I serve you? Great leaders are servants. They're really great leaders are servants first. You find that out in life. Great leaders create more leaders by showing people how to serve. I remember when I was in Bill Winston's church on a Wednesday night preaching years ago. He had just bought a mall for like $3.5 million. He bought the whole mall. I preached on a Wednesday night in a room that later Kmart came in. And the room would hold about 5,000. We didn't have that many on that Wednesday night, but he told me Kenneth Copeland had been there earlier, and they had about 5,000 people that night when Kenneth came. And it was really interesting with Bill, Man of Faith, still Man of Faith, got a great church there in Chicago. And when I met him and got done preaching, he said to me, he said, that's the exact message our congregation needed tonight. And I went, wow. And he said, he took me to an old building that right across the way, not too far, old brick building. Took me to the second floor. And he said, this is where our church started. With about 50 people. And we later put almost 150 in this room. The room probably held 75. They put 150, so we just forgot about the fire marshal and prayed he wouldn't show up. And they had one thing on the wall that said, a little slogan on the wall said, now faith is. He said, that's what we started with, and that's what we continue to do today in the mall. Right. And then I looked at him and I said, Pastor Bill, I said,
what can I do to serve you? And he looked at me kind of startled. And he said, I was about to ask you the same question.
Mm-hmm.
He said, that's how we built this ministry, was by serving people. And in serving them, they learned how to lead, some of them. And I was taken back by the fact there's this great man of God who started with just a little something, and God grew it something really large because of what? He was willing to serve people first. And he had learned that through the corporate world. He used to be a high executive for IBM. And Bill today, besides pastoring a great church, he's the president of over 20 different corporations. And he has a business school on top of everything else. But he started everything by learning how to serve. He talked about coming to Tulsa and learning how to serve as well when he was there. So great leaders are servers first. Great leaders love to serve other people. They have to serve others. I've been in places before where I've been in churches before where the pastors didn't want to serve the people. They waited until the church service started. They walked in after first praise and worship song, preached. When they were done preaching, they left. There was no mingling with the people. They didn't really love or care for the people. They didn't serve it. And that's not good. Great leaders give others their time. If you're going to be a great leader, you're going to share your time with other people. I've always been thankful for the people God's put in my life. They were willing to share their time with me. I still got people in my life like that today. I can call them, talk to them about anything, and they'll give me their time, as long as it's available at that moment. Great leaders listen to others before they talk. Great leaders are great listeners. They listen first, and talk will last. And that's a great trait to have. I learned that from being around some great leaders, that when I learned this, and it's really helped me through the years, when you're in a meeting with someone who's greater than you, and they call the meeting, and they want you to be in the meeting, don't be the first one to talk in the meeting, be the last one to talk. Why? They'll remember who said what last, they'll forget who said what first. And I've done that over the years. I've learned that. In pastoral staff meetings, I'd be the last one to talk unless Pastor Billy Joe or someone would call on me. And in other meetings I was called in at times to be a part of. I'd always make sure I was the last one to talk. I even shared that last year at a pastor's conference, where they asked me, I don't know how my name got thrown in here, but this new CEO of the City of Faith had come in, and supposedly he had asked, and I don't know who he asked, but he had asked, he wanted the prophetic leaders in the city of Tulsa to come and meet with him. And so I was one of about 10 people. I don't know how, I did teach on some classes on prophetic. I was moving the prophetic, but I have no idea who said I needed to be in that meeting. But I was there with 9 other women, 7 me and 9 women. And as soon as he sat down, he came in and said, this means from 12 to 1, it's 12 o'clock right now. I'm leaving at 1 o'clock sharp. I will not stay a second past 1 o'clock. So we're going to conduct a lunch meeting where we're going to talk as we eat. So help yourself to the food, and we'll talk as we get our food. We'll talk as we eat. So we start that way. And he said, I've got one question. That's why I brought all you together. You're supposedly the prophetic leaders of the city of Tulsa. I'm looking for an answer to one question. That is, how do we see more miracles at the City of Faith? Or Roberts built the City of Faith. It was built for the body of Christ, or the world people to come, Christians to come to it, to get, they had medical procedures, whatever they need to have done, to get done by spirit-filled doctors, technicians there who love God, who were born again, filled with the Spirit of God. And that's why it was built. I had 2 of my kids that were born there, actually. And that's why it was built. And we saw miracles there. But the CEO said, I want to see more miracles. What do we need to do to see more miracles? And so right off the bat, he asked that question, and all these ladies started talking. And I didn't say a word. I looked at my watch, and it was like 12:57, and he looked at me and he said, Jere, you're the only one who hasn't talked yet. Do you have anything to say? I said, I'm leaving in 3 minutes. I said, I do. I've got the answer to your question. He said, you do? I said, yeah, I do. He said, well, what do I need to do to see more miracles in your faith? I said, it's simple, one thing. He said, what's that? I said, you have to fully embrace the healing ministry of Jesus. And it got really quiet in the room. Okay, it's here. So what's that mean? Said you have to advertise on television, magazines, on paper, anywhere you put your name out of the City of Faith, you've got to put out with it that this is a place that Jesus performs miracles. You can come here and receive your miracle. Which means you have to fully embrace the healing ministry of Jesus, fully. If you don't do that, you won't have the miracles. But if you do it, you'll have the miracles. He said, it's that simple? I said, it's that simple. Mm-hmm. But you got to fully embrace his healing ministry. You can't be ashamed of the healing power of Jesus. He said, I got it. He said, thanks for coming. He left the room. I watched. That was on a Friday. They were running commercials by Monday on television, showing, depicting Bible stories of Jesus healing people and make it plain and simple. You come see faith, you're in a position where God can perform a miracle through Christ in your life. And it went on. They went on a printed page and went everywhere with that, doing that. So what am I saying? Leaders listen to people when they don't have their own answers. And they are open to other people's input. Are you hearing me? They don't have their own hidden agenda. They just want to get things done. Leaders want to see progress. They want to get things done. And when things aren't getting done the way they think they should be, they're open to have people help them. How many of you ever helped another leader or person who is in a leadership role, help them do something? We probably all have at some time. So remember that. They're always going to ask for input from other people. That's important to them. Mark 9:35, let's look at some things the Bible talks about in leadership. It says that Jesus sat down, called the 12, and said to them, if anyone desires to be first, he shall be last of all and servant of all. Now that's interesting. He has 12 disciples there. He's heard them bicker a little bit about who should be the greatest among them. He says, if anyone desires to be first, he shall be last of all and servant of all. He's saying, if you desire to be the top dog, you're going to the back of the line. You're going to start at the very tail and not be the head until you get what? Until you get your mind right, your heart right, because a heart that wants to serve doesn't say, I want to be first. Are you hearing me? When you're serving, you don't have to be first. It doesn't matter to you who gets the credit. I was in meetings in a church in Tulsa I worked at for years, and I watched people take credit for things they didn't do. And they knew that I knew they didn't do it. I saw them lie to the pastor. Saw them lie to the pastor's wife, openly. Didn't blink an eye about it. And they didn't desire to serve, they desired to lead. They wanted to lead. So it's a great concept here that he talks about right off Mark 9:35. If you desire to be first, there's something not right in your heart, you're going to be last. And you're going to serve people until you learn how to serve. You can't, in other words, you can't lead effectively until you learn how to serve. Once you learn how to serve, then you can lead. Are you hearing me? Amen. Matthew 23:21. But he who is greatest among you shall be your servant. Here Jesus saying, whoever's the greatest among you, if they have everything right in their heart, they're going to be serving you. So great leaders serve others. See, I'm always amazed when I hear stories of people who have a lot of resources and how they share them with people that we never hear about. And occasionally those stories kind of leak out. You know, someone says, so-and-so, brought their private jet, but my son took him to Houston, Texas, and paid for all the medical bills at MD Anderson. You start hearing stories like that about people who are doing things like that. In other words, serving other people, even while they lead. They're leading because they serve. They can be trusted with resources. That's one of the things I've learned over the years with churches. When God can trust the church with its resources, that's when the resources come. When we serve our communities, which we're going to look to do more of in the future, serving Ringwood, serving Wanacue. The more we serve, the more resources will come into our hands. Matthew 20:26. Yet it shall not be so among you, but whoever desires to be great among you, let him be your servant. In other words, he's not saying greatness comes in leading, he's saying greatness comes in serving. Amen? Amen. So if you want to be great, serve other people. So great servants serve first.
They give their times to other people. They give others the ability to speak because they will listen to them. Great servants think of other people first before they think of themselves. Great servants love serving. And great servants eventually become great leaders. There was one guy in ministry years ago, he started a church in Tulsa. And Pastor Bill is just a different kind of guy. And he named his church Guts. And he went after, and this was, I think they've been there, what now, 25, 30 years. Just built a brand new children's edition. And Pastor Bill would do things that no one else in Tulsa would do. So I remember his first time he did this, on Halloween, he went into a warehouse next to the church. His church was in a warehouse area, and built a church there in the warehouse area, in a warehouse. He took one of the other warehouses and built, for Halloween, a whole walkthrough tour that showed the 21 most deadly accidents and things that kill teenagers, and made it gruesome. Showed one of them depicted a kid who in a car wreck, and he'd gone through the windshield of the car. Actually showed his head sticking through the windshield of the car. Kid's alive, he's just an actor. Okay, but as you went through the scenes of it, it got more and more intense as you went through it. And when you came out of it, you were shocked, stunned, people were crying. And as soon as you walked out of it, there was a man or a woman, a young person, who would come up to you and say, "What do you think of what you just saw?" And start interacting with you, and eventually leading you to Jesus. And our kids went to it. The first time any of them went to it, came back and said, "How was it?" They said, "Life-changing." Said it was so gory. Said, "I almost didn't want to go through it anymore," but we did. Said, but it impacted your life. I had both when they were teenagers. They still do that today. But the reason he called his church Guts was because he went after people who were on church in Tulsa. He went after people no churches wanted. He went after people that didn't smell good, people that were just down and out, people with no money, people who lived on the streets. He said it would take, that's why one reason he named it Guts, it's going to take guts for you to come to church, because you don't go to church. And you don't go to church because last time you went to the church rejected you because of the way you looked. He said, so you got to have some guts to go to church. And he built a whole church like that. And of course, it's grown and grown and grown over the years. Now it's become a very large church. But what did Bill have? Every time I saw Bill, me and him one time when I was athletic director, I coached basketball at a Christian school for 1 year. He was coaching Robert Tilton's basketball team for Robert Tilton's Christian school. Have you ever heard of Robert Tilton? Not anymore. He came and went years ago. But he used to be one of the leading evangelist pastors in the world. And so my team beat Bill's team by a lot. And every time I saw Bill after that, I'd see him, our class across traveling ministry, Bill, he'd say the same thing to me every time I see him. He'd say, "Jere, how can I serve you? What can I do to help you?" It always impacted me. That always impressed me. And he was very serious with that. Great servants do think of other people first because they love serving. They want to see people be successful. And as I said, great servants become great leaders. Now I think one of the greatest servants we've seen in our lifetime here recently, who's no longer with us, is Charles Kirk. If there's anybody who showed the meaning of what a servant looks like, it was Charles. And he had a threefold purpose. I want to go over his threefold purpose. I think it lines up with what we as a church want to do as well. His first purpose is a question. What is something I can do for someone else today? What is something I can do for someone else today? Now think about this. If every Christian in every church across America would go out every day and we ask ourselves, what can I do to help somebody else today? And then go do that, do you think we'd impact our country?
I think we impact the country in a big way. And this is not talking just about your family, people you already know. How about people you don't know that you run into? You know, when you get on the elevator with somebody, you have a captive audience. And there's times on the elevator, we're in hotel stuff, you know, we can share with people and ask them questions, even when they go golfing, and they pair us up with somebody, we're playing golf with another person, with a couple. It's inevitable, you know, we have a captive audience with us, we can say things to them. But imagine if we all did that, got up every day thinking, what can I do to help somebody else, and then go do that. His second purpose was, what is something I can do to add value to the world today? What is something I can do to add value to the world? That's a big one. What can you think about? What can you do? What can I do to add value to the world? What does the world need? It needs Jesus. So how do I add value to the world? I believe the greatest way to add value to the world is give the world Jesus. Give people Jesus. Be unashamed about the gospel. Share openly with people. It's not hard. It's easy. If kids can do it, we can do it. You know, we got songs that make it so easy. You know, because the Bible tells me so. It's that simple. To share with people. Because the Bible says to. To obey God in that. And so we can add value to the world today. Think about doing that every day. And then thirdly, how can I honor God today? How can I honor God today in what I'm doing? Is what I'm doing honoring God? If it's not, then maybe I should reconsider what I'm doing. If it is, great. But I think when you look at these three, notice all three are talking about doing something today. Not tomorrow, but today. Every day. Find something that I can do for someone else every day, adding value to the world, and every day honoring God. If you did those three things every day, I think you'd have a very full life. A very, not only full life, but a very satisfying life. All three are showing action that's being taken. All three are about someone else. They're not about you. They're all three about somebody else. You know, the world has become very selfish. And I've learned in a lot of people's lives, when there's conflict, it's because of selfishness. People want to have their own way. In any relationship, you can have that. Well, I want to do it my way, not your way. You really think about that, that's selfishness. Husbands and wives have to learn how not to be selfish, how to listen to each other. It's an ongoing process. But you have to be able to do that and listen and allow that. If not, if you keep turning off the other person by your words, eventually they're not going to talk to you. Why? Because every time they do, you belittle them. You put them down. No one wants to be around people like that. And so understand this, that in doing this, these three are showing action to be taken towards somebody, about somebody else, something else. And none of these three are selfish. None of these three are selfish. They're about serving other people. Honoring God is needed to be done today by the body of Christ. It's needed to be done by the body of Christ. Who else is going to do it? Nobody else. I mean, darkness is not going to honor God. We know that. The devil's not going to honor God. He wants to be God. And so if we're going to honor God, then we need to be doing these three things every day. I believe Charlie Kirk gave us a great example of what we should do as Christians. And, you know, he went out into a world that was untamed. He put himself out there day after day after day. College campuses, corporations, podcasting, radio, television. I mean, every day to get the word out. And he particularly aimed young people to get them involved in the political process. Why did he do that? Because he understood that the power lies in younger people. And the younger people as a whole were not engaged in the political process. And he wanted to show them, number one, the most important thing in your life is to get Jesus in your life and be born again. And number two, get involved politically in your government. And he started a worldwide movement, a nationwide movement that now has caught fire because of his death. His blood now is running through the veins of other young people who've now taken up the work that Charlie was doing. We heard just the other day, one school by itself added 2,000 new chapters? Thanks to college, added 2,000 new chapters around in that school. It's gone from just a couple hundred over 2,000 of them, and thousands of kids involved now.
And a billion listen to their show.
Yeah, I mean, it's just growing.
Wow.
And so, you never underestimate the blood of someone who's been martyred for God. But the bottom line is, Charlie, he is focused.
Mm-hmm.
And every day gave his opportunity to dialogue with these young kids. Why did he dialogue with them the way he did? Because he wanted them to understand how important God was in their life and how important it was to get involved in their life in our government. What amazed me the most about his life, and I didn't know him at all. I know what I saw on TV, basically. But what I'm amazed by this man is the research he did to talk to people. The statistics that would run out of his mouth in any area you want to talk about, he was well versed in it, accurate with it, and that took hours of preparation to do that. What we saw on TV, you didn't see all the time he spent doing that alone by himself in his research, and he has a team of researchers to help him research. But that's amazing to roll those kind of numbers out of your spirit like that. He showed us what it's like to be a spirit-filled Christian and to have the mind of Christ, and use it more than most people do use it. It showed us what we could do as well, the importance of it. Now I'm going to show you one of his famous and most popular verses to him personally. As I've done my research, James 4:1. He loved this verse. It's odd, but he really loved it. What do wars and fights come from among you? Do they not come from your desires for pleasure that war in your members? Charlie Kirk loved this verse. It's one of his favorite verses of the Bible. Now look at it. What do wars and fights come from among you? He's talking in the book of James. He's talking to Christians, believers. And Charlie's saying, as he reads this, why in our body, the body of Christ, are there fights and wars among us? And he says the answer, James gives the answer, do they not come from your desires for pleasure that war in your members? In other words, Charlie was saying, when he read this, he said himself, my biggest fight I have every day is not with those that oppose me, it's with myself. That there's a warring inside my flesh that wants to take me away from the will of God. And that conflict I have to take care of every single day. There's that war going on inside of me. It says, don't go out and talk to the young people. Don't go on TV. Don't do the podcast. Don't travel the world. Don't get involved in politics. Stay away from it. That's the warring he had going on inside of him. Will anybody listen to me? Will anybody come to my rallies? Why would they come? They're not going to come. They're not going to come and listen to me. I mean, these were things he had to battle every single day within himself. And I remember hearing him say, seeing some of the highlights of the back, after his death was that he kept saying, to people out there publicly, he would just say to people, I face things just like you face them. And life can be difficult at times. I have things that get difficult in my life, but God's there to help me. And it should be the first thing you do, you point people to God. So understanding this, that he saw his biggest fight every day was within himself. He knew his greatest fight was his own self, not somebody else, not some outside force. Nice wife, nice kids, nice handlers, nice company, not the nonprofit, but himself. He knew that within himself was his greatest conflict. He knew he needed God's help to overcome himself. He knew if he could overcome himself, he could serve God better. Think about it. When you get yourself taken care of, you're not warring against yourself, you're going to do a better job than whatever God has called you to do. He centered his thoughts on pleasing God, not pleasing man. I've looked in the world and I always taught our kids, don't be men pleasers, be God pleasers. It'll cost you something. Because people want you to be things that please men.
Mhm.
I think all of our kids, particularly as we had them, all four of them, particularly my first one, Josh, he was he wanted to be he always wanted to please people. Always wanted to please people, which is not a bad trait, but it can get in the way of pleasing God. If pleasing people doesn't line up with pleasing God first. And we had to teach you got to please God first, not people first. If you please God first, God and you'll take care of the people. So understand this, that in his life, he wanted his thoughts on pleasing God first. He did that. He knew his purpose was to reach young people with the gospel. He knew his purpose was to get the younger generations involved in America's political process. But the biggest thing about him was this: he knew God. Charlie Kirk walked close with God and knew God. Do you know God? Do you know him that way? Is he your best friend? Is he the one you turn to when things aren't going well? Is he the one you put first in your life? Or has he become secondary? Is he someone you go to later, not first? He's your healer. Do you go to him first when you need healing, or do you go somewhere else first? He's your provider. Do you go to him first about your finances and what you need, or do you go somewhere else first? He's your advocate. He's your lawyer. Do you go to him first when things get tight legally, or do you go somewhere else first? You see where this is going? Charlie learned to put God first. He wasn't perfect. He made mistakes. And it's like I told you, he made one, the whole world could see it. But he had a heart after God, like David. He had a heart after God. And that's why God could use him such a way. Why? Because he wasn't selfish. He was willing to serve. And in serving, he led. So let this be a word to us. If we want to lead, start serving other people first. Let Charlie's life inspire us to go out and serve other people first, as a church, to serve our community first, before asking it to serve us. We don't ask it to serve us, we should serve it. Serve our family first, our kids, our grandkids, our spouses. Serve our friends first. Serve our employer first. Serve other people first. Become a servant. When you do that, you're going to find yourself eventually in a leadership role. Leaders serve. Leaders serve. Remember that. Don't ever forget it. Oh, you're watching by Facebook. Thanks for being with us. Thanks for watching us. Remember this. Jesus is Lord, and he's a servant first. Serve him first. God bless you.
Amen.
Does this help anybody today?